skies of Britannia. Arthur, the once and future king, ruled from Camelot, blessed by the power of the Holy Grail. It was a time of peace and prosperity. Arthur, son of Uther, had already united the war-torn lands and claimed his rightful place on the throne. He had faced the fairy lords, and he had gathered the knights of the Round Table. This is where most stories end, but our tale begins right here. When Morgause, the Witch Queen of Orkney, finds a way to reach the terrible race of the Fomorians, defeated and exiled by the heroes of the Sidhe ages ago. When something ancient and powerful awakes beyond Britannia. King Arthur saw the signs and the omens, and he was worried. So it happened that he finally called the ones closest to him to discuss what should be done. He summoned Sir Lancelot, the bravest knight who ever lived. Sir Kay, his most faithful warrior and friend. And Queen Guinevere, his wife, famed for her otherworldly beauty. They all gathered out in the wilderness, in the shrine of the Holy Grail. Something happened in the shrine, something terrible. A blinding light turned night into day, destroyed the Holy Grail, and left only Arthur's lifeless body behind, sweeping away all the others. The sky first turned as white as bone, then it became red like spilled blood. King Arthur barely survived. He has a gaping wound in his side that will never heal. Arthur is sick, and when the High King suffers, the whole realm feels his pain. His illness is slowly destroying the entire land. Camelot is in chaos. The Knights of the Round Table have disappeared or turned against each other. Arthur's former kingdom has turned into a terrible wasteland where the Fomorians dwell, who came out of the darkness as soon as Britannia fell. Heroes try to stand their ground, only to perish one after another. Arthur, the maimed king, was taken to the last safe place in Britannia, the magical forest of Bedegraine. The future of the realm now relies upon Arthur's son, leading the remaining armies of the Pendragons against the otherworldly hordes. Night is falling, and if the king fails, the nightmare will never end. In just 1 year, the glorious kingdom of King Arthur has fallen apart. Camelot is a mere shadow of its former self, no longer the hub of the realm. The Round Table has dissolved, and lone knights are making desperate stands in an attempt to stop the hordes of Fomorians who roam the countryside. The entire south is in chaos and decay. Arthur still lies wounded, barely conscious most of the time. It now falls to you, William Pendragon, son of the once and future king, to face the tide of monsters and keep hope alive. It is a daunting task that will require exceptional courage and skill. You have been tutored in the many arts of governing and knightly virtues since you were a child. But you are far from ready, and time is now short. You must focus your training in one area so that you can embark on your quest as soon as possible. You begin your training, but there is much to be done in the meantime. Heartwood Keep and the lands around it are in deep disorder, and there is no leader to keep matters in hand. With the king incapacitated, you must govern the land in his stead. But first, you must assume your position as leader. Your father wanted you to grow up free from the influence of Camelot, so you have spent much of your life in seclusion, and people don't know what to expect of you. A regal act is required to show them who you are. The people rejoice at the return of the Crown Prince, and morale clearly improves in Heartwood Keep. But the cheers are quickly muffled by a myriad of troubles, and you are soon faced with a host of difficult decisions. The most pressing matter you face is the arrival of a sizable group of refugees. The keep is already getting crowded and food is becoming scarce. You must decide what to do with these people. After a few months of intense training, you are as prepared as you can be at such short notice. But even though you have the blood of a true hero in your veins, you are still but one man. You'll need an army to lead. Besides the remnants of the Iron Guard, all you currently have is a ragtag band of volunteers. You must recruit more soldiers from the men available, refugees, hedge knights, and the survivors of lost battles. The army is ready, and so are you. The time has come to leave Heartwood Keep and begin your journey to seek a cure for your father and to restore Britannia. You steel your soul for the trials ahead, for you know that the greatest tale of chivalry has ended, and now the nightmare shall begin. Britannia is in ruins, and the refugees fleeing from the growing wastelands flock towards the forest of Bedegrain, where King Arthur lies wounded in Heartwood Keep. Over the last year, a ring of small provinces has sprung up around these woods. Sadly, discord already threatens to rip their fragile peace apart.
Ready to serve.
Sir Agravain used to be a knight in Camelot, but now he has become the self-appointed lord of the refugees in Sherwood. He rules with an iron fist, which is a vital trait in such grave times, but which also means that he has his fair share of enemies. After Sir Agravain had to deal with a rebellious noble family, a certain Sir Marrok and his band of troublemakers imprisoned him in return. It's only a matter of time before Sherwood erupts in open revolt, and you simply can't allow that to happen this close to home. Bedegrain used to be the deep wood of the Sidhe, a gateway to Tir na Nog, but the gates have closed. The region called Sherwood is still an untamed wilderness though. You leave your army at the edge of the wood, and you continue your journey with only a handful of men. You can only move slowly in the dense undergrowth, but it feels much safer than risking the open roads in a province close to open rebellion. Your hunch proves to be right when you notice a group of rebels, mostly archers, hiding in the bushes near the road. The rebellious Sir Marrok is famed for his talent with the longbow, and his men also favor this weapon, which makes them weak in a melee. They still outnumber you though, and they put up stiff resistance before you finally prevail. You capture 2 rebels, but almost no one survives the battle unscathed. You learn that the castle was built in that part of the forest where even mortals could walk, and it was designed to withstand the attacks of the Sidhe. It has massive walls, but a tunnel leads from the cellar to the river. You leave 2 guards with the prisoners and leave. You see a guard post built of crude logs blocking the road. It's huge, but it wouldn't be that hard to take it by force. Its main purpose seems to be to halt the passing wagons, not well-trained warriors. Greenway Castle is a dark, squat shadow above the ancient trees. The towers are huge and the iron gates are heavily guarded. To the west of it, you see a small river running through the trees. The tunnel that leads into the dungeons is blocked by a thick grate, but you realize that the bars have rusted away. Marrok's men neglected to replace the old grate, and soon you are heading deeper into the castle through the underground vaults. The dungeon is a maze of twisting tunnels, and it takes time until you find your way through the small cells and gloomy halls separated with thick oak doors. When you meet the first band of guards, you leave them to your men and hurry away to find Sir Agravain. Soon you find Sir Agravain. It turns out that Marrok's men made him drink a brew that made him unable to use his arcane talents. When you release him from his cell, the knight asks you to go and find his faithful men, who are also imprisoned here. You find Sir Agravain's warriors in a large room. You finish off the guards easily with some simple charms and give their weapons to the prisoners. Then you leave the dungeons immediately. You leave the grim castle in a hurry, but soon you hear the sound of horns echoing through the woods. The rebels won't let you slip away that easily. You know that as soon as you reach your army at the edge of the forest, you'll have a battle to fight. hero is casting a spell.
Fire!
The enemy has cast a spell.
Fire!
Your unit is going to die. The enemy has cast a spell.
Fire!
Your units are in danger. Your soldiers are going to die. Your units are in danger. Your unit is going to die. Your hero is in grave danger. The enemy has cast a spell. danger. A spell was cast. Your men are going to die. Is going to die. Victory is near. You defeated the rebellious army of Sir Marrok, and Sir Agravain offers his alliance in return. He must have realized that Sherwood can't survive on its own. Arthur's dire condition shows no signs of improvement, despite the efforts of the healers who come to tend his wounds that still won't heal. Merlin is lost, so your only chance to find a cure is to find the mysterious healer by venturing among the survivors of a recent plague. You know that your only chance of finding a cure for your father's ailment is to find the enigmatic healer. He recently appeared in the province of Coventry, where he dealt with the outbreak of a mysterious plague in a nearby village. You mingle with the survivors of this plague in an attempt to find this man. You know that your only chance...
Yes, my lord. On my way.
You know that your only... The forest is filled with bird song, but this deceptive peace is even more disturbing than the gloom of Beddigrain. You hope to find the healer in one of the nearby villages and get back to fighting more visible threats. As the road turns, a pack of dirty children run up to you. Children are dirty and scared. The oldest barely dares to speak, and his words chill you.
Sir Knight, there is a plague in our village, and it is turning people evil. Those who survive are not only disfigured in their body, but in their heart. They want to kill us.
Christian here came from a village near London, and it was his parents that fell sick first. His mother died and his father went mad. He tried to cut him open like a pig, so he ran. His baby brother Tim didn't make it. They used his blood to water some strange plants.
The villagers of Greenham don't care about their children, so you order your men to take care of them for the time being. The children were right. There is something wrong with these people. You see cripples and pox-marked, warty men, and their sly looks make you feel dirty. One of the few healthy people, a dignified middle-aged man walks up to you, wringing his hands. He says the healer was here and tried to cure them, but a knight living near the village kidnapped him. They fear for him, because Sir Marrok often kills and tortures people. Sir Marrok was ever a rotten knight, the man says, his eyes darting and his forehead beaded with sweat. But he became worse when the plague came.
He wanted the healer to only care for the sick up in the castle, and when he refused, he took him by force.
The plague?
This is obviously a topic the locals don't like to talk about.
The Cartwright's cousins fled from London and brought it with them. Killed off half the village too. We would have had need of the healer, but that evil Sabir took him from us.
The apple trees blossom in the orchard, but their scent is far too sweet and cloying. It is the stench of decay. You see that the earth is black with dried blood, and you find a clump of human hair matted with blood in the grass. It can't have been here for more than a few days. The same sweating, middle-aged man faces you. It is yet another example of the knight's treachery, he mumbles. He murders our children and disturbs our dead. And he has your healer, too. You really have to defeat him. One of your knights draws you aside. Your Highness, we don't know what evil powers these villages possess. If they are just simple peasants, we can defeat them. But if there's something more sinister here, perhaps we should ask that knight. Maybe he knows more. Sir Beor's castle is a mile from Greenham. You ride there with your men and have your herald call out. "Sir Beor, we know you have the healer," he says after the usual flourishes. "Whom your king needs." The knight appears on the walls. "Your Highness," he says, "let us parley." You meet in the field by the castle. Sir Beor sighs when you demand the healer. He was looking to cure this plague, but had to move on to learn more. He told me he found out that this was no sickness but a curse, and I should keep away from Greenham. It's already fallen to it.
You're free to search the castle. You'll find no plague victims there. The villagers are plagued by an evil ritual. As the demons hatch in their bosoms, they die or are deformed to reflect their new nature. Some are still unharmed, but the demon wants to devour them too. Those possessed by the demon are lost. The only way to stop the demon spreading its seed is to lure it into the open. We need to convince it that it's safe. Take me prisoner and act as if your men didn't care about the plague. It'll come for the fresh prey, and we can catch it.
You bind Sir Beor and parade him through Greenham. The villagers throw eggs at him, but you don't let them stone him. He's taken back to the castle while your men join the villagers' celebrations and pretend to get drunk. Your troops move into position around Greenham.
You pretend to be busy setting up the camp, but you keep a close eye on the village and the men you sent in there as bait. After a while, you see them herded towards the orchard, and you see a dark shape rising from the freshly dug graves of the churchyard. The black shape is a true monster. It's the most repulsive creature you've ever seen, including a few unseelie dignitaries. It fights hard and dirty, screaming in an inhuman tongue, but in the end, it falls. You are a tougher kill than these poor villagers were. When the demon lies dead, you hear moaning and screaming. You look around and see the plague survivors rolling on the ground, clawing their chests. Some of the seemingly healthy ones are in agony as well, including the village elder you spoke with. They must already be infected.
The healer said those infected can't be saved,
Sir Marrok says.
but now that we know who they are, we can get rid of them and start a new life. We'll burn this cursed place, and the true survivors will build a new village. Come up to the castle, and we'll discuss it further.
The people in the castle are shaken, but relieved that the demon is gone. No one here was affected. You are relieved that the taint is cleansed. Sir Marrok tells you the healer went to Coventry to seek knowledge there. He warns you some suspect that the demons have appeared there, too.
My good sir, my name is Sir Marrok, and it was your father's wish that I be your aid in the future, to relieve you of mundane, everyday tasks. I would be more than pleased to advise you if that is your wish. I'll also welcome the messengers, and decide which matters require your immediate attention. My lord, Sir Marrok warned you that troubles are brewing in the town of Coventry, and the king of the province might have gone mad. Now that you are aware how the Fomorian plague affects the mind and the soul, it's imperative that you personally investigate the truth of such rumours, especially in a province so near Heartwood Keep.
Ready to serve. On my way.
After the Fomorians devastated the populated regions of Britannia, large groups of refugees from the burned-out villages didn't leave for the newly founded provinces, but stayed on in the wastelands. They've banded together into ragtag mobs and have been looting the deserted settlements for food and resources, sometimes even confronting the smaller Fomorian warbands.
Yes, my lord.
You have been warned that monsters might have appeared in the town of Coventry as well, where the king apparently went mad. You must travel to Coventry and find out if there is a truth to these rumors. If they are true, you must expose the king's infection to the whole town. Riding through the province of Coventry sets you on an edge. Things look peaceful, but you know the taint may already lurk in every village you pass. The people you meet are tense too, and by the time you get to the town of Coventry, you know there's something wrong. The mood in the court is gloomy and tense. People die and disappear, and the king is ill, they say, and refuses to see you. But the local nobles don't want to upset Arthur's son, so they take you to the council that is running the province while the king is recuperating. The council that now rules Coventry consists of 4 people. Lady Hild, widow of the king's son, Lord Edmund, the king's treasurer, Father Thomas, his chaplain, and Sir Wulfgar, a knight from an old Mercian family. It's clear that each wishes to speak with you in private. Father Thomas, the king's chaplain, is a broken man. He's desperate, his king is possessed by a demon, and nothing can save him. The only reason he still keeps going is the hope that they will figure out a way to drive out these demons and not let Coventry fall apart. Father Thomas says the plague came from Bedford. He went there to ask the Saxon knights' help, but they're too bloodthirsty and want to kill the innocents too. He thinks it's enough to kill the possessed and their Fomorian masters. The strongest is hiding under the castle. The Fomorian lurks in the castle dungeons, but it would be wise to kill it when the king and court are public. Partly to see who's infected, partly to show the world you have a reason to kill them. They can arrange a feast for you for the next day. That would be a good occasion. You and a handful of your best warriors creep down to the dungeon. It's dark and cold, though not as damp as the tunnels in Tintagel where you played as a child. The tunnel forks. A flight of stairs descends into darkness, but the main corridor goes on straight ahead. After a while, barred rooms open on both sides of the corridor. Miserable creatures huddle in the corners. You found the king's prison. When you lift a torch to see the wretches inside the cells, you see all of them are deformed. Clearly, they are Fomorian-infested survivors. As you discuss what to do, you hear the clinking of armor. You turn and see Sir Wulfgar. You are trapped. Soon we'll feed 5 souls to the master, and a dozen bodies to our warriors. He mocks you. Your Highness may choose who loses his life and who loses his soul. So Wulfgar laughs, and his minions move closer. You know you may die here. Even that would be better than to live as a Fomorian slave. But before you clash, a clear voice rings out.
Drop your weapon, Wulfgar!
Lady Hild stands there with a dagger in her hand. Suddenly, Lady Hild stabs Wulfgar with a dagger.
What a mess!
Lady Hild shakes her head.
I wanted to stab him for years! Now that we know exactly where the Fomorian is, we can block this passage!
Maybe she's not possessed, but that glint in her eyes is madness itself. You have discovered the Fomorian's hideout, and it's easy to trap it here with a horde of possessed monsters. But it's still a formidable enemy. You consider what to do next. You get back just in time to change for the feast. It is lavish, with exotic dishes and the best wines, but the mood is tense. When everyone's in the room, your men bring in the caged Fomorian. These monsters roam your realm, you say, and have it executed on the spot. Many people blanch and shake, but only a few collapse in agony. You can tell who's possessed, but they are not as incapacitated by their master's death as the villagers were. You look for the king when one of your men indicates that he joined the ranks of the possessed soldiers.
Your magic shield is fading. Enemy hero is casting a spell. Your soldiers are going to die. Your units are in danger. Your units are in danger. Your men are going to die. The enemy has cast a spell. Your units are in danger. Fire! Your units are in danger.
magic shield is fading. The enemy has cast a spell. The enemy has cast a spell. Your unit is going to die. Your men are going to die. You have successfully purged Coventry. Unfortunately, you couldn't accomplish everything you wanted to. You didn't find the mysterious healer in the town. He was here, that's for certain, just as Sir Beor told you, but he left some time ago. The search is not over.
Bedford is a small province, but after the catastrophe it became one of the few safe havens in the area, guarded by battle-hardened knights. Perhaps this is the reason why the Fomorians decided to infest this town from the inside. You must move against Bedford, my lord, before the monsters escape and scatter through the land in their mortal disguise.
When Sir Bors decided to move against King Arthur, he gathered vast amounts of weapons and armor to equip his army. But ultimately he only used a fraction of the military resources he accumulated. Now his fellow knights have decided to sell the rest. If you could negotiate good terms with them, you might acquire some true masterwork pieces.
Ready to serve.